Good morning.
Good morning.
On the early evening, late afternoon of February 23rd, 1836, a blood-red flag was raised over the San Fernando Church in Behar, Texas. About the same time, several bands of the Mexican army began to play a tune called El Deguello. The blood-red flag and this tune, El Deguello, which by the way means slit throat, were a direct statement to the men that were defending the Alamo. That statement was, no quarter. What he was telling them was that you are all going to die. I am not going to take prisoners. I will show no mercy. You are all going to die. That was February 23rd. The final battle of the Alamo did not commence until March 6th, very early in the morning. That's 13 days. Incidentally, do you know how many men fled because they knew their death was imminent? I know all of my Texas friends would love to tell you it was zero, but it was not. One man fled. The rest faced certain death. And all of them died. Santa Anna was true to his word. Every man that was left defending the Alamo was killed. That's why it's such a sense of pride for every Texan everywhere, that they were willing to face death for the cause of their freedom. In John chapter 3, we have the story that we're all familiar with of Nicodemus coming to Jesus by night. Now, if you haven't seen The Chosen, this is my favorite scene filmed in the entire series, by far. It brings me to tears sometimes, because I think they portrayed Nicodemus in such a good way. Such just a seeker. There's no guile in him. He just wants to know. But in that meeting, Jesus tells Nicodemus in verse 14, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so the Son of Man must be lifted up." We don't know how long it was from this meeting until the Lord actually was crucified. I don't know if this was really early on, if this was maybe 2-3 years. But here Jesus is telling Nicodemus, I already know that I am going to die. I was there in the beginning, part of this plan, and I know that this is the reason that I was born, was to die. So we get into Luke 9. In Luke 9, it says that Jesus set his face to Jerusalem for the ascension. Matthew 20 records the same kind of idea, that Jesus now, it's time to go to Jerusalem for the death that I have come here to do. We don't know, outside of the 12-year-old incident where he is about his father's business, we don't know really when it hit Jesus in the flesh who he was, and really was, all right, but it seems like it came at an early age. So for his entire life, he's aware of the fact that I am here to die, and die on the cross. Not be beheaded, die on the cross. We have some writings of what those men were feeling in the Alamo. We don't have a lot about Jesus' feelings and mindset. We do know that in Isaiah 53, he says he's a man of sorrows. I don't personally think that that's necessarily just the dying on the cross. I think when he gets here in the flesh, like any other parent, and he sees his children and what they're getting up to, it just breaks his heart. I'm sure every day It's just hard for him to see the illness, the sickness, the sin, and it just must wear on him. But here he goes, he sets his face to Jerusalem, knowing that it's time for me to go through this. And then even in the garden, it's time to go through this, and I am really wanting some other way, but I've made the commitment and I'm going to follow through with it, knowing what it's going to cost. As we eat and as we drink, let's try to consider how hard it must have been for the Lord, not just that last few hours, but every day that he was here. That he is seeing the sin, the torment, everything that he has to endure daily. And then knowing, I'm going to die on the cross. And he did it all for the joy that was set before him.